As someone who has been told I was God, not just in the sense of the teaching that speaks that we are all God and all parts of God and all is an illusion and we are all therefore the creator and there is no other person in the universe, but I was also told, you are the original creator. You are God himself. I didn't believe this at any point in time. I didn't claim to be this at any point in time because I'm limited to the memories of a 35-year-old life that I've lived. My first memory on earth is that I was sick with some kind of smallpox or some kind of an infection that a kid has, and I was in bed, unhappy, frustrated that I was sick and everything. But did I really live that? Was that really my own memory? Is this life pre-recorded? That's another thing. Is this life pre-recorded? Do we really have power of free will? I'm going to suggest that we do. And anyway, I'm going to continue on. So the reason I'm here, I was told I was God, and not just in the sense that we're all God, and I'm gonna get to that soon, we're all God. This is all illusion, but so I'm gonna speak for God, essentially, that's where I'm getting to. So, did I write the Bible? No, I'm not gonna take credit for anything the Creator has done or the person called God has done, because either way, even if I am that, I'm just an incarnation of that. So I'm no different than anyone else. So when the Creator comes to this plane, unless the Creator comes in an image that we can think of in mythology to be the Creator, like a really strong guy, perhaps Shiva, perhaps Vishnu, perhaps the Godhead of Christianity or Jesus Christ or someone like that. Even in these convincing forms, the person is just a person. So all those thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who have gone through the mental health system and claim to be the Creator, claim to be Jesus or whatever, is their experience valid? Well, to some extent it is. They're tapping into something beyond what we recognize as general truth. They may even have memories attached to them of a past life that they actually live. They may actually be that person, but a lot of people claim to be the same individual. So that just tells us that we are the same individual. All of the different variations and stories that you can be happened, those gods are alive. We're all gods, really. So that's what you should first focus on, take from this. This is really just a small time in reality. So if the age of God is infinity, as science and math propose it is, which is not really a number, it's a non-number, but it's like infinity, okay? It's a really big number. Okay, so if the age of God is infinity, 35 years or whatever is not a significant amount of time. And when it's all done, it really will look like a joke, because it's probably like, at best 15 minutes go by, and then you experience birth and death and everything in between, and you collect memories and you do the training and processing you want to do for this lifetime. It's set up, it's a script. Does it have to be a script? As far as I know, it does, because there are so many different facets of God, which are really individuals, but there are so many individuals within the universe and the multiverse that we have to have a script to coexist in shared space. There are spaces that I have become aware of that are not shared, like private planets, where I think the family unit would be approximately 4 individuals in most cases, like the mother and father creator, and then like their son and daughter. So this will repeat itself throughout the multiverse, but what we have here is an open planet. So we're all here and we're all going through the COVID-19 things and the Black Lives Matter things and the things that have triggered that movement, like let's make this the last death that we accept, because really we shouldn't be accepting any death in 2020 in regard to police officers. And again, history is cyclical, so we'll see this repeated again and again until everyone has seen what they needed to see of it. I think in each life there'll be a bit of that. There'll be a bit of history like the Holocaust that makes you wonder what's going on, and is the devil in charge, is God in charge, and are God and the devil the same thing? First of all, I believe in non-duality, where we are everyone, but I also believe in a dual existence, an existence of God and goddess, yin and yang. And in traditional Chinese culture, yin and yang are described in certain ways. The yin is placed in the darkness. She's feminine, she's cold, whereas the yang is strong. He's made of light, he rules the sun and everything. But you don't want to have too much yin or too much yang in any given place, because when you do, you get bad results. You get emotional problems, or you get war with too much yang, you get that type of thing. So if we look at the mythology, we go back to the Bhagavad Gita, and certainly in the Christian Bible and throughout history, it looks like God approves of warfare and weaponry and everything. If you look at my life, I'm a Taoist, and I've considered with my mind the idea of being a police officer. I've looked at different American and international organizations that do police work, and I've looked at their training, which is pretty much the same at this point, and I've looked at the graduations and everything, and I've been made to feel that this is an interesting structure, and the military, yes, same thing. Is there a purpose for it? Well, ultimately, if there is an absolute good and an absolute evil, the absolute good would want to control the absolute evil, and vice versa. Is God the creator of the universe ultimately the absolute good? Well, if we look at the character of the people talked about to be God, we don't know. It could be that this is just hell itself, that this is a hell realm, or that this is a training realm where we have to embrace the idea of a fight between us and another in order to be stronger, in order to find ourselves and everything. But yes, if you look at history, if you look at a person who has been told he is God, and his personal way of dealing with things is warfare and law enforcement skillful? Does it have purpose in our lives? Well, at one point it did. It might be getting to the point where abuse of power is degrading that project into just another thing that we tried and doesn't look good, doesn't work. Or it might be an opportunity for us to ratify things. First of all, those of us that are not in the military and not police and don't want to deal with that stuff can imagine a world where socialism is in charge, where people agree to a code of ethics. It can happen. But as long as we continue to manufacture weapons, and as long as we continue to deal with that stuff, then it's there to deal with. Now, as a person who has been told I'm God, and again, I never really fell for this one, never claimed that title, never believed it, exactly because I am just an incarnate human being, regardless of what else I did beyond my personal history. I know only my personal history. It's just a story. It's just another character. It's just another face and body. But I don't believe I'm from here. I don't feel right in this universe. I don't feel right in this existence. Everywhere I go, I encounter friction. I have to bring light into my life from within. So Source can offer you that. That Source is accessible to everyone. When you reach for inner peace, you reach for inner light, and you can sort of see the skillfulness and the lawfulness of all things. So you don't have to read the Bhagavad Gita to understand that at some point the Godhead, at least of this particular universe, remember it's a multiverse composed of universes, so the amount of stars and the amount of star systems in the universe, in the multiverse really, is infinite, and new stars and new galaxies and new life are created all the time. So anyway, I'm just like you. The mental institutions have been filled with thousands of people over the years who have believed they were God, Jesus, or some type of holy figure, and they may have been that. Or they may just be guiding us all to know that there is holiness within all of us, that we can all be that, but these are shared experiences which exist within history, and that we're everyone. Now again, I don't feel like I'm from this universe, so if you put Hitler and everything on God, God could suggest that, actually there is a devil and it's not me, and although it is me and I created this individual or gave them their power, they, much like the argument of the Xerox machine, where you can use a copier for good, or you can copy something that doesn't belong to you and try to claim rights for it and publish and sell it. But either way, the copier exists for the good of all beings, whether it's used improperly or not. So, much like that, our lives are given to us, and it matters what we do with it. We're being tested on how we react to things. We're being tested on what we do with what we have. So you can find holiness and righteousness in all types of life, in all ways of being. And mostly, don't create work for yourself. Do as little work as possible. It's okay to seek degrees, even graduate degrees, if you think they'll help you advance your life, take better care of yourself and everything. But remember, just use it as a way to learn what you want to learn. Try not to accumulate debt, because really, when you get down to it, an illusion is not worth taking on that kind of responsibility unless it's going to benefit you. So if you're getting a degree that you economically know will be useless for you, you can still get the degree if it satisfies something within you. But just be aware that you might be a security guard or something paying for that degree in monthly installments with your high school level paycheck, even at the graduate level at this point. The redundancy has been done. We have enough doctors, we have enough people that have done the redundant things and believe they should just go with the known and replicate the known and replicate the known and replicate the known. From that, we have people that seek to create advantage in things that are disadvantageous to other people and other beings, like diseases. Was COVID-19 manufactured in a lab? Well, I believe it was. And why? For personal gain, for the people that developed the vaccines and everyone. Maybe it's a power experiment, maybe it's a political experiment, but it happened with human beings, probably misguided human beings. But human beings nonetheless. If I were God, I would take responsibility for all those human beings. I would say, I created them all, it's an experiment, or perhaps that, my wife, the goddess, had something to do with it. But either way, if you look at history, if you look at everything, we're all as guilty, we're all as mean, we're all as menacing. I'm not saying we all went through Hitler or had to go through that level of existence. That's just a misguided person who had power issues, who had control issues, who had anger issues, who just didn't like his childhood and reached out to others to take responsibility for something that wasn't their fault. So we can't blame anything on anybody. It's all an illusion. We're here for a very short, finite amount of time. Don't let anything bother you. The rent might be due. You may find that after the courts open up, you'll be evicted, but really, for now, in America at least, the courts are closed, and I'm not saying you don't have to pay rent, because we all have responsibility. We should all be working to our capacities, and we should all be as upstanding as we can so that we can help as many people as we can in this journey, because it's gratifying to help people and because we're also here for that purpose. But this is an open universe, so in other words, other universes in the multiverse are private. You would have to earn your way in or come from nobility. There are private universes though, so be aware that when we transcend our existence here, it's very likely that we will go to a better place. A worse existence is hard for me to imagine. A world where there's extreme poverty and disease and not everyone has clean water is, to me, an example of a hell world. For me, it's a training world also. And I think we've imagined, the most hideous contrivances of existence on this planet itself. So if we imagine a hell where you burn eternally or something, I think that's unlikely to exist, because prevailing good will prevent it, and if it knows about it, it probably created it. If it doesn't know about it, it'll find out about it and deal with it. But if you look at the way the world is structured, and you see the Indian Army training and doing yoga and doing all this tactical training, they're showing their country an example. It may not be the best example, it may not be something everyone wants to be a part of, but it's an example of people who are self-sufficient, can survive in difficult situations, and can deal with an opponent, if there is such a thing, against peace against democracy. And so if you look at that, the way law enforcement and armies are intended to be is a lawful purpose. But lately it's become perverted. You know, people start focusing on the weaponry and this sort of thing, which is a delusion, which is a perversion. As long as it's about people and promoting wellness, then it's good. So I can see the fall of the need for military defense. If we stop making weapons, if we stop being combative and competitive and agree to a code of ethics like the Jedi Code, then we can exist in mindfulness. Really, mindfulness and holistic living and spirituality and living in peace, cultivating inner peace, is the ultimate purpose for us, regardless of the conditions. So one way to save time would be not to put yourself in that position, but we need good, loyal people who will eventually change internal affairs to help prevent racism, help people deal with their psychological issues within the force, and help prevent the abuse of power. But in all honesty, we have enough people following the templates, so we need more people like Elon Musk, people that create businesses, people that create ideas, people that do the impossible. You know, would I want to go to space? Really, I wouldn't, because if I look at space as it is right now and space travel with Earth, you're talking about cramped conditions. You really need a lot of training, many lifetimes of training to be able to tolerate those conditions, and then to go into space and to deal with the psychology of being in space, which I can imagine is depressive. You have no sunlight. Like, without sunlight for one day, I get depressed, and then if it's always like that, of course, it's got to be depressing. So we don't need people, and again, even becoming an astronaut, unless we find new ways to explore space, is a template. It's just a cookie cutter existence, doing what someone else has done. So let's do stuff that people haven't done. Enough people have aspired to be President of the United States to fill the law schools for quite some time. Enough people have aspired to be doctors and all this, and they become doctors and they cut people open, and really, where does that leave you in life? You've opened and closed so many bodies, you've changed so many heart valves, there is an importance to it and there's good to it, but do damage control in your life, live mindfully, live for yourself, and don't take on too much karma. So essentially, that's why I would say that. You don't want all that responsibility. Often we can get into so much responsibility that we really regret having done so. So a person having gone through medical school could end up not practicing medicine, owing $600,000 and being required to pay that sum on an hourly job. So don't take up too much responsibility. The highest good is in making your life right. You may be interested in a graduate degree or a college degree even. And I encourage people to do that because if you focus in the arts anyway, like I did, you have the chance to find your voice and find self-expression. But if you focus in the sciences, you may find that it's just a template existence. Either way, we've all lived template existences. So we can use that experience to create something that's new. So when we get into business and entrepreneurship, then we start talking about the why questions and the how questions and what we can do with our skills and what we have as skills and what these skills mean to the world. And ultimately, we can apply ourselves in that way and we can gain fulfillment from that. Does having a meaningful existence mean you have to serve people? Well, yes, but maybe we don't all serve people in the same way. It doesn't always mean you have to go out and adopt a baby or deal with the sick and dying or give the homeless money. You know, it's a personal journey. We're here for ourselves, and regardless of who we are and whether we created the universe or not, who knows? Most likely the creator of the universe is not on this planet. But if they are, you should treat everyone like that. It could be that that individual is on this planet. So act like everyone is them. Act like you're them. That person, that individual that created the universe. Personally, I think God and Goddess created themselves and then proceeded to develop the rest of the world. I believe this particular world is an experimental world. It seems largely in the goddess realm. Personally, I have a weak body. I'm poorly trained fitness-wise. I'm vulnerable. But I don't feel like that's always been the case for me. I feel like I have come from a long line of being a warrior and then a poet and then a scientist and all this other stuff. And you can start to become aware of your past lives through personal work, through healing work, getting some healing work done for you, and then learning to do it and delving into meditation and spirituality. You'll get some idea psychically of who you are and where you came from. But even so, just look at history, just look at the archetypal people who have done good for the community, who have good reputations, and who are remembered with honors and good records. When you shape yourself like this, and then you also are innovative and don't fall into any mind trap like the world needs more cops or soldiers because the climate is socially, logically bad and people are decaying in their morals or something, or we have to fight the enemy, or we have to fight for what we believe in. Yes, everyone needs a job, and those jobs are actually good jobs if you can get them, if you're willing to lay your life on the line. But we can transcend those things, and we should transcend those things, and we should seek to unionize ourselves. We should seek to reach for togetherness. So any opportunity you have to connect with people, it's getting harder now where things are closed. But any opportunity you have to connect, do it. You may feel social anxiety or empathy. Mostly social anxiety is empathy. People making you feel bad or low because they have an agenda that you disagree with, or you're picking something up from them. So hermitage is attractive in that manner. And COVID-19 gives us social distancing, which promotes hermitage. So we get more time alone or with our families, and we can realize that although it's good to seek interaction, it's probably best to control who you interact with, because somebody with the wrong agenda could just make you feel bad for no reason, could put you down, or could just destroy your confidence for the day. So every day I create my confidence, I amp myself up, I tell myself a story, I use hypnosis and mind training to put an image in my head of what I want to deal with in my mind that day and what I want to accomplish as a larger term goal. So I may work on myself one day as being a rock star. I may say, as I learn to play the guitar, my skills and confidence grows, and I become a skilled musician, and I will be able to express myself, and I am able to express myself, and use my voice to create change, and use the music I create to promote happiness. I may say, I'm a skilled music healer, and I know the theory of music healing and sound healing, and I will integrate those sounds into my work. Each day, take a little time in the morning. Those of you still working on your morning commute, say those things. Those of you not working, great opportunity for you to build your mind, see larger than life pictures, see what you can do with what you have, and develop something that hasn't been created yet, and work on something new rather than filling an old role with 20 years of education to copy a template. Basically a template you downloaded off the internet. You're using 20 years to get yourself into that mold. For a long time, I was concerned with the practice of medicine, alternative medicine specifically, and I was concerned with the idea of trauma doctoring and all that, but there is no trauma. There are no emergencies beyond this realm that I'm aware of. It's good training in some ways. If you can deal with emergencies, you can deal with anything. But you don't have to physically deal with those emergencies. As you may have realized in your studies of the mind, something simulated is just as good as the real thing. So, if you imagined having money, it's just as good as having had money. If you imagine being a skilled physician, if you look at trauma shows and see how they operate with the helicopter, and they descend onto the city and get the land ambulance and go out there and save the person's leg and whatever, you'll see the process. You'll be as attached to the process as you need to be. Is it all right to live in your mind? Absolutely. I'm proof that it's all right to live in your mind. I have a vulnerable body that isn't developed. I'm not an athlete, but I live in my mind largely. I'm not saying it's okay to 100% live in your mind, because if you do that, you're not present in the present moment. And the present moment is a present that we're given in each second of our existence. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. And in theory, when you're not focusing on the future or the past, and you're just focused right now, you can be mindful, and you can not have any stress whatsoever. You can not have any problems whatsoever, because that's what being present is. So you can live in your mind, but don't do it full time. Live in your mind, but also in your body. be aware of your body, but don't be in your body without also having a mind. Don't avoid processing the things we have to deal with now, personally and publicly, as a planet. We're dealing with disease and all this. We've always dealt with these themes in history. We've dealt with people in power that we don't think should be in power, that probably shouldn't be in power, that will pay a karmic price for taking votes that they didn't earn. And probably the karmic price is nothing more than being reborn in a poor country and having nothing, and then learning humility. But regardless of what the case may be, don't worry about what others are going through. It's ultimately about your experience. What can you take away from this life? Let's assume we're in hell. Okay. Fuck the devil. Fuck hell. What can we learn from our time here? How can we use it positively? How can we enjoy ourselves? Also, take the idea that you're enjoying this and look at the good moments, because that will help you enjoy it better. And really, it's just about being happy, spreading happiness, and we can't spread happiness if we're not happy. So I hope this discussion was of value to you, and I hope my time being treated as being mentally ill will be valuable for people beyond me in time to come. But that's essentially what I learned from spiritual teachings and learnings, and my time as disabled, where I was receiving Social Security and just making enough to pay the rent on a small room and getting by. It wasn't a good life. It wasn't a life I would want to promote to anybody. But if it is your life, or if you're retired for that matter, it's very difficult, and I hope you can do with your time what I'm doing, what I've done with my time. Better yourself, learn, grow, and spread peace and love. Best wishes. You are me, I am you, so I say to myself, I say to you who are me, thanks for listening. Have a great day. Go out there and spread peace and love.